My task for tonight is to exemplify the implementation of understanding by design. So let me first share to you a quote by Stephen Covey from the habits of highly effective people. He said, "To begin with the end in mind means to start with a clear understanding of your destination. It means to know where you're going so that you better understand where you are now, so that the steps you take are always in the right direction." So when we are trying to plan for something, usually we have already in mind the desired output. But of course, before achieving the desired goal, we need to plan on what to do. We need to indulge ourselves in working it out. We need to think of several ways for us to be able to attain that goal. So, in that way, we became a reflective person, asking ourselves big questions for big ideas that would lead us to the desired goal. Now, the second one is a reflection of a teacher on using UBD. The teacher said, "That's what I find so exciting about this process. It is so much better for me and the students to be in the middle of a UBD. Everything seems so relaxed. I'm more confident and the students are very excited. They seem to sense something more at the core of what we're doing. I suppose they sense the goal. The goal is usually not revealed as completely and clearly. I know what my students know. I know what they don't know, and I know what I need to do." How liberating. So it seems like the teacher here likes how the UBD works, both on students and for the teacher. But what is UBD? What is understanding by design? Understanding by design, it is a concept that starts with the end, that before you start, you think about what is really important for the students to know and to understand before you plan for an activity. UBD is not a perspective program. It is an approach that will help you better focus your design, work on how to achieve understanding that you target. UBD is not a philosophy of education, nor does it require a belief in any single pedagogical system or approach. It is a way of thinking more carefully and forcefully about the nature of any design that has understanding as the goal. UBD, it avoids us from doing the twin sins of aimless activity and superficial coverage. So what are these twin sins? These are activity-oriented and coverage. So in activity-oriented, the teacher here gives a lot of activity. So that is the so-called drill kill. The teacher is not being specific with what he or she wants for the students to know and to understand. The teacher is putting the topic into a mystery, wherein learning should not be a mystery. When the students walk into your classroom, he should know first what they are doing that day. Second, why they're doing it. So the error of activity-oriented is that it is called or considered as the hands-on without being minds-on, engaging experiences that lead accidentally, if at all, to achievement or insights. So the activities, though fun and interesting, doesn't lead anywhere intellectually. The second form of aimlessness is called the coverage. So the students march through a textbook page by page, or the teacher to the lecture notes, in a valiant attempt to traverse all the factual material, within the prescribed time. Now, understanding by design. So let us first define what is design. Design, according to Oxford Dictionary, is to have purposes and intentions, to plan and to execute. Teachers are designers. An essential of our profession is that crafting of curriculum and learning experiences with specified purposes. You probably heard some people say, if you don't know where you are headed, then any road will take you there. So the point is a very serious one in education. We are quick to say what things we like to teach, what activities we will do, what learning materials we will use. But without clarifying the desired results of our teaching, how would we ever know if our design is appropriate or arbitrary? How would we ever distinguish merely interesting learning from effective learning? How would we ever meet content standard or arrive at student hard-won understanding? Unless we think through what those goals imply for the learner's activities and achievements. So therefore, good design is not just about gaining new technical skills, but it is about being more specific with the purposes and what those goals imply. Now let's define understanding. Understanding, insightful use of knowledge and skill observable in performance. So these are insights of ideas, situations, people, and processes manifested in various appropriate performances. To understand is to make sense of what one knows, to be able to know why it's so, and have the ability to use it in various situations and contexts. Understanding is revealed via the 6 facets. Think Bloom's taxonomy. First, explanation provides thorough, supported, and justifiable accounts of data, phenomena, and facts. Second, interpretation. It provides meaning, bringing text to life. Third is application. The ability, when you understand, you have the ability to use the knowledge effectively in various situations in real diverse contexts. Perspective. These are the critical and insightful points of view. Empathy, the ability of getting inside another person's feelings and worldview. Self-knowledge that is perceived by personal style, projections, and habits of mind that both shape and impede understanding. Understanding essential for maximal recall and apt transfer of content to new situations. A reflective recursive spiral. So, when you understand, you can absorb what is being said. Now, understanding by design is also called backward design. Why? Because its focus is to clarify results and evidence of them before designing the lessons. So there are 3 stages of backward design. First, what do you want for the students to know and to understand? Second, what is the evidence that the student will produce to show you that they understand it? Third, after identifying the desired results and building your assessment, it's now time to plan for an appropriate learning experiences and instructions. First, stage 1, identify the desired results. Since it consists of 4 components: content standards, understandings, essential questions, knowledge, and skills. Now, what are these big ideas? Facts to memorize are not big ideas. To determine big ideas, ask yourself, why, so what, or for example, what is the moral of the story, or how would the topic be applied beyond the classroom? Some questions for identifying truly big ideas. Does it yield optimal depth and breadth of insight into the subject? Does it have many layers and nuances not obvious to the naive or inexperienced person? Do you have to dig deep to really understand its meanings and implications, even if you have surface grasps of it? Is it therefore prone to misunderstanding as well as disagreement? Are you likely to change your mind about its meaning and importance over a lifetime? Does it reflect the core ideas as judged by the experts? So, essential versus leading questions. Which is better, essential or versus leading questions? So, what are essential questions? Essential questions, these are questions that doesn't yield a single straightforward answer, but produces plausible responses in which knowledgeable people may seem to disagree. So that calls for an open-ended answers, or it doesn't have just the essential questions. These are the open-ended questions. This is not answerable by yes or no. So it is designed to uncover new ideas, views, lines of argument. So leading questions, this have a single straightforward answer. So designed to cover knowledge. So this is just a path, just a top path question. Now, UBD design standards stage 1. To what extent does the design focus on the big ideas of targeted content? You have to consider, are the targeted understandings enduring based on transferable big ideas at the heart of the discipline and in need of uncoverage? The targeted understandings framed by questions that spark meaningful connections, provoke genuine inquiry and deep thought, and encourage transfer. The essential questions provide provocative, arguable, and likely to generate inquiry around the central ideas rather than a pat answer. Are appropriate goals identified? Are valid and unit-relevant knowledge and skills identified? So, for identifying the desired results, objectives that enable knowledge clearly specify in measurable terms what all students should know and be able to do to achieve the desired understanding and to respond to essential questions. Ideally, understanding-driven objectives should begin with behavioral verbs, reflective of one or more of the 6 facets of understanding: explanation, interpretation, application, perspective, empathy, and self-knowledge. So this, in identifying these results, we have to consider the 6 facets, the Think Bloom's taxonomy. Now, stage 2, assessment evidence. What is the evidence that will show understanding? You are now building your assessment. Essential questions: what are key complex performance tasks indicative of understanding? What other evidence will be collected to build the case for understanding knowledge and skill? How will students self-assess? So in backward orientation design, it suggests that we think a course or unit in terms of collective assessment evidence needed to document and validate that the desired result has been achieved, not just merely a content to be covered or a series of activities. And this approach encourages teachers and curriculum planners to think like an assessor before designing a specific unit or lesson. Thus, it consider upfront on how to determine the desired understanding has been achieved. So the design standards: to what extent does the assessment provide fair, valid, reliable, and sufficient measures of the desired results? Consider, are students asked to exhibit their understanding through authentic performance tasks? Are appropriate criterion-based scoring tools used to evaluate student products and performances? Are various appropriate assessment formats used to provide additional evidence of learning? Are the assessment used as feedback for students and teachers as well as for evaluation? Are the students encouraged to self-assess? Those are the things that we have to consider in stage 2. So when designing stage 2, assessments of students' performance, educators must keep in mind the metaphor of a photo album rather than the more traditional metaphor of a snapshot. Effective monitoring of students' progress should incorporate many assessment tools and processes, including these: tests and quizzes with constructed response, reflective assessments such as journals, logs, listen, think, pair, share activities, interviews, self-evaluation activities, and peer response groups. Academic prompts that clearly specify performance task elements such as formats, audience, topic, and purpose. Culminating assessments projects that allow for students' choice and independent application. So, it should always be it should always be in conjunction with the performance task. The assessment should always be in conjunction with the performance task. Okay. Now, third, after identifying the desired results and for building your assessment, and after evaluating what should be used in the assessment, it's now time to plan for learning experiences. Essential questions: how will you best promote the deepening of insight and interest? How will you prepare students for the performances? Stage 3, learning plan. To what extent is the learning plan effective and engaging? So we have to consider, know where they're going? Do they know where they're going? Why the material is important? And what is required of them? So we have to consider the word to. Be hooked, engage in digging into the big ideas, problem solving, and experimentation. Have adequate opportunities to explore and experience big ideas and receive instruction to equip them for their required performances. Have sufficient opportunities to rethink, rehearse, revise, and reflect their work based upon timely feedback. Have an opportunity to evaluate their work, reflect on their learning, and set goals. For their learning plan, tailored and flexible to address the interest and learning styles of all students. Organized and sequenced to maximum engagement and effectiveness. So, overall design: to what extent is the entire unit coherent with the elements of all three stages aligned? So, we have to consider, again, in stage 3, we have to consider learning plan. So, these are the example. This is a one-page template with design questions for teachers. Stage 1, again, that is the desired results. We have the goals, understanding, questions, essential questions, knowledge, and skills. So we have to identify what key knowledge and skills will students acquire as a result of this unit. What should they eventually be able to do as a result of such knowledge and skills? And then, what are the skills? What are the desired skills that you want for the students to have? Okay. Example for nutrition. This is about nutrition. Okay, now stage 2. Understanding what are the big ideas, what specific understandings about them are desired, what misunderstandings are predictable. Essential questions: what provocative questions will foster inquiry, understanding, transfer of learning? These are the example. And then, what key knowledge and skills will acquire as a result of this unit? Students will know, like, for key terms. Students will be able to, particularly what skill? Read and interpret, analyze. So that is stage 1. What are the desired results that you want for the students to know and to understand? Now, the second one, the stage 2, assessment evidence. Example, for the performance task: through what authentic performance task will students demonstrate the desired understandings? So this is the example. Students create an illustrated brochure. This is the authentic performance task. Performance task, so hands-on. So that should be the hands-on, the task. And then the other evidence, like for example, what other, like for example, quizzes, tests, academic prompts, observations, homework journals. Okay. So quiz, the food groups, and then food pyramid. Prompt, describe two health. So it is always in conjunction with the performances. So for self-evaluation, they can also have the self-evaluation. Like for example, self-assess the brochure or what you eat, self-assess the camp menu. Okay, so that's it. Now the last stage 3 learning plan. The word 2. Okay, so you should have a calendar. So the word 2 should always be applied, should be visible in the learning plan. And then you need to have the calendar of activities. Like for example, if they have, for example, you in the topic will be discussed for how many weeks. So the list of activities should be put in the calendar of activities. Okay, so now this one is the policy guidelines on the implementation of the 2010 secondary education curriculum. So UBD was implemented last 2010, year 2010. There's no recent memo for this one because implementation is by schedule. For example, for the year 2010 to 2011, first year level only will be the one to try using the UBD. Okay, so for this time, that is the second year level. So later I will be I'll be showing you a video regarding with the interview with the second year level English teacher about the implementation of UBD in their school. So for DepEd Order number 76, section 2010, the refinement of the curriculum followed the understanding by design framework, which covers 3 stages. Okay. Now, what are the voices from the field? What do experienced users say about the strengths and challenges of understanding by design? Okay. So, this is a short interview about the UBD implementation Manila Science High School English Department.